You didn't say one.
You're not supposed to. So in TV land,
I'm just
do
kidding.
it for the audio clip. Anyway, um, yo,
Yeah.
so we're on Chris and Greg and Chris, Roots and Branches, Web Ex edition, test run, practice mode, virtual preparation. I don't know, but yeah, we're here. We're doing it. What is up, my man?
Yo.
Greg and Chris, Roots and Branches,
Whoa.
Web Ex. Oh, that latency is real.
No, that's the latency. I'm watching it live on another tab.
Uh-huh.
Yo. Whoa.
You're gonna have to mute that, bro.
Yeah, I just did. So that was like 10 seconds. It's much better than what it was yesterday. That's workable to do some real-time interaction.
Yeah, 10 seconds isn't able to respond. Pretty cool.
Want to test the Google Slides? I can see how it looks.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll chat here too.
Okay, so hey, what'd you have for breakfast?
Nothing. I don't eat breakfast.
Well, tell me more about that. What is that? What is that nutritional process that you're undertaking?
I never like breakfast. I always feel if I eat a breakfast, especially if it's like a bigger breakfast, I feel heavy. Like I feel like weighed down the rest of the day, like slower. And I'm just not hungry in the morning. And so I drink coffee. That's it. And usually I've been trying to do an intermittent fasting kick and um, trying to just do like a lunch and a dinner. But usually I have like a late night snack, so it doesn't even work. But
So you don't intermittent fast, you just skip breakfast.
yeah, I'm trying though. I'm actually yesterday and today I'm just doing dinner. That's it because I need to got that COVID-19, man.
Bro, you telling me I am not gonna share the digits, but I am up. I'll say I'm up about 25 to 28 pounds higher than I usually walk around at. I saw some old school videos of us at Oak Life, and I was like, bro, I used
Yeah.
to fit that outfit.
Uh-huh. I've had the same thing. We need some this we could do this as the roots and branches discussion. I need to get on that. I need some accountability.
Bro, who you telling? So, all right, let's talk about dopamine. Let's talk about homeostasis. Let's talk about dad bods in 2020 during COVID. But first, let's see about this.
See how it works.
All right, so 5 minute countdown. How's it looking?
It hasn't showed up yet, so this is good test. I think it is like a 15, yeah. So that's 15-second delay. I think yesterday was 30-second. I think 15 seconds is okay.
Not too bad.
Yeah, actually, I can tell the exact seconds because I can see the countdown clock on my phone.
Good. Look at the math working for us.
Are you seeing my comments?
Hold on.
One person's watching, it looks like, besides me.
It's because I'm sharing the screen and I'm playing the screen, I can't see comments. So
while you're sharing, yeah.
Like AV person won't be able to share comments. They just have to look at us live. That sucks.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's.
If you're the one person watching, hello. We are goofing around to try to just figure out how this all works.
All right, so done with this. Moving on.
Okay.
To those who have been excluded by Christians, to those who have gone to church their whole life, and to those who are exploring, welcome. We hope that Oak Life Church can be a home for you. If you have been rejected by the church as a person of color, as a woman, as an LGBT person, as a non-Christian, or for any other reason.
Cool.
Nice.
It looks good on the YouTube stream. Like it looks good enough. Not like it's not HD 1080, but it's decent. Yeah. And all those slides are working. Cool.
Cool. All right. I'm out that thing. If I go back to YouTube, go A's, definitely go A's.
Yeah. See,
Saying the current stream bit rate is lower than the recommended. We'll have good connection. Okay, we're cool. Julio. All right.
well, so for those, if you are watching this right now, you're watching it later, you just saw us test a bunch of stuff. The last few months for like everybody has been a giant disruption, and in some ways like questioning everything and throwing it all up in the air, and like uh, starting from scratch, having opportunities to change. All those things are good, um, can be good, can be an opportunity, but it's also a challenge. And so as a community, we've been trying to figure out how to walk the balance between consistency and innovation, adaptability, flexibility, those sorts of things. And so even in our services, like to get like a window into stuff, we were like, when we were first, we did Zoom, and we had an incident and that we had to stop doing Zoom. And then we did YouTube pre-recorded services, which drop all the interactive stuff for the most part, and they're not live. And now we're moving into this thing where we're going to host like a conference call that will be streamed live, that will be like in the moment, that we can interact with people via comments, and there'll be like a handful of people on the call with us, kind of like a webinar thing. So it's super safe, it's interactive and all that stuff. So throughout that, we've been like, well, I don't know if the video feature is going to work, but the video like welcome thing is kind of a special thing for our church. It's like, it sets the tone. It's like a comforting reminder of who we are. But do we rely too much on it? Maybe we just need more interaction. So Greg and I have been philosophizing around homeostasis and disruption, like, and the benefits of both. And I think that's probably like a broader conversation we could all wrestle with, right? Like everything's been up in the air, but how do we keep some consistency? Um, yeah, you got any thoughts on that, Greg? What's maybe on the church stuff? What's been good, not good, and then just personally, what's your take on all that stuff?
Oh man, well, funny, I am in a class right now, missional leadership in the church, and this week we're talking about, or I'm in week 3. So far, all 3 weeks have been talking about the role of the church to analyze their impact on the community, both locally and abroad. And there's basically just, hey, as a church, we've jacked up in a lot of different areas, and a lot of the authors are basically saying, "Yo, we've kind of sucked in a lot of ways, and it's time to do theology right. It's time to do ministry the correct way, and here's some ways to do that." And I'm reading that, hey, okay, our history has shown us that we've messed up, and we need to re-engage within our current context to move forward in a better direction. Like, where have I heard this before? And it's like, okay, Black Lives Matter movement. It's bringing all this tension to individuals who have grown up in a society that is been structured to protect and promote a particular ethnic group. And the byproduct of that is oppressing many other groups. So when one person says Black Lives Matter, other groups can possibly hear something that's completely different. And it's attacking that sense of homeostasis, that sense of, wait. This is how we've always done it. And this works for me. Whereas other people who don't benefit from the system, be it the system of the United States government, be it the system of organized religion, the people who are being oppressed are like, yo, hey, no, we have to disrupt. So it's this continual tension between who wants to protect what's normal and then who doesn't want to. And then a previous class I had was talking about dysfunctional families. And if we view ourselves, church, as a body, as a family, it's interesting because even in dysfunctional families, family members grow accustomed to dysfunction and they want to protect that dynamic. Even if, like, cognitively they don't realize, yo, this is jacked up, they will fight to protect that jacked up dysfunction. And all that to be said, I'm looking at everything and saying, okay, it seems like we are wired to protect and maintain a rhythm, whether it's dysfunctional or functional. So our job right now is to assess whether our rhythms are dysfunctional or functional before we try to fight either direction. So if we're fighting to maintain or we're fighting to change, it's like, well, wait a minute, let's find out what is working, what's not working. And I think Oakland, the Bay Area, we've spent a lot of time in this. So we may be a little further ahead than some other individuals, but you have to reflect before you react. Otherwise, it's a reaction. We have to respond properly. I am long-winded. I'm done talking. So ping pong, back to you. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
I just muted because you're being so long-winded. I was like, I'm just going to let him go. But the idea of changing, or when our stability or homeostasis is, we're defending it and we're protecting it. We're like, it's uncomfortable to change that. If it's an unhealthy thing, we should notice that. And yeah, to your point around the majority culture, white folks or whoever, like when things are challenged where it's been working for them, there's like a strong reaction. What's the line? Change will feel like oppression to those who benefit from the system. Like
something like that, paraphrase.
Yeah, paraphrase. And yeah, for sure. So I agree with that. And I think, I mean, thinking about that on a personal level, like habits and practices that are kind of normalized. Like we were talking a second ago about my eating habits, like because of our life, it's so crazy right now, and so busy. We're up early in the morning. It's nonstop with kids, and we're both at home. We're both working full time. Like by the time 8 or 9 o'clock comes around and things are quiet, and if I have a moment, I feel like, oh, you know, it'd be really good is to watch TV and like eat something. Like it's like this very tangible consumption for me, and that over time becomes like a pattern and a habit and a thing of homeostasis that is unhealthy for me personally. But the thought of changing it, I'm like, but I like playing video games late at night by myself. And even though I mentioned I can tell the health effects long term, and I get less sleep. I should go to bed earlier so I can be better and more present for my family and my kids. But it's also like nice. So the challenge for me is, at least in this area, like I think every so often having a night like that's okay, but for it to become the pattern is dangerous. And so that's like a microcosm of all the things we're talking about in a sense. Okay, well let's flip it back. So we talked a little bit about stability, homeostasis when it's not functional or dysfunctional, I think is the word you used. What about when it's good? What are practices, stability things that are like important to keep, right? Because some of those things are like really good.
No, this is true, and I'm not gonna even pretend that I have an answer as to what's good and what's not good. I just know, kind of reflecting your sentiment around the personal implications, I tend to lean into rhythms, even if I know that they're not healthy, because I can justify it and I can rationalize. All right, well, I do good in this area, so that justifies this behavior, even though my waistline is saying otherwise, or even though my sleep is saying otherwise, or whatever the case may be. Definitely games is my go-to. That's what spikes dopamine the most. Or TikTok, looking at laughs and jokes. I literally last night finished homework super late. Went to brush my teeth, and I'm like spacey, and I'm going through TikTok, and there was this one thing that I watched this morning. Was not that funny, but last night it was hilarious. I love that. Get that dopamine kick. It's like, oh, I'm about to laugh. Heck yeah, I'm excited. So we maintain those things, right? So I say that to say this, that I value the importance, whether I practice it or not, I value the importance of reflecting and analyzing on what's good and what's bad as a I hate those terms, what's helpful and what's harmful. And I understand that that's important, and that's where I need to be before I make progress. So in turn, I think that as the church, we should spend more time in that before we fight to keep things the same. It's like, hold on, before we fight to keep things the same, let's take a look at what's right and what's wrong, what's helpful and what's harmful. And
I like that. Like, so the starting point is put everything out on the table. Like, and notice it all. Don't like start with, we want to protect this and we'll have a little bit of change over here, but like put it all out. Like have an honest inventory, like take an honest inventory, like the recovery language. Look at it all and start to evaluate and discern like,
Yeah.
okay, these things are healthy and unhealthy. That's a really hard process because you're talking about like opening up our entire culture, of reevaluating the entire system, from education, policing, the economy. We're talking about personally. You're talking about like habits and practices that are really comforting and normalized. But I like that. Start with that openness and then start to rebuild. How often should we do that? Is that like an everyday thing? Is that like a once a year?
It's like old Kanye West line. It's like old folks using the bathroom. It all depends. It all depends on the context. I'll say what I'm
bringing up Kanye this week.
I had to. I always bring up Kanye. It's what I do. I'll say this. Whether or not, there's an answer as to how often we should do this, we should not do it alone. This idea of accountability and this idea of doing things in a communal aspect kind of call back to Erna Kim Hackett's talk around imagining, dreaming as a community, not just one person leading the conversation. Just a little insight to Craig. Chris and I operate very differently when it comes to making a decision and moving forward. And it's fun to have these conflicting conversations because Chris helps me better my decision-making process so I don't just sit in this paralyzed state of reflecting and pushes me towards action. And I hope that I, in turn, cause Chris to, think through some things when it's like, yo, we just got to get the job done and take care of the community we're called to serve. So doing things by yourself, it's really hard to have an honest look at what needs to be out on the table. So whether or not there's a right or wrong or beneficial way to do it as far as frequency, you shouldn't do it alone. That part I'm sure about.
It's good. Yeah, and for sure, I pull the trigger too quickly. So beneficial in some ways, but not in others. So the slowing down of things, challenging of things is good, and that is a good, I think, creative tension we have. Well, that's probably enough for this. We're just kind of doing a test and talking through some things we were talking through.
So many angles we could go. One thing that's cool though, on this YouTube thing, well, I guess we can talk about that later. Just noticing some.
What do you see?
Stuff. I'll share my screen.
So if you're watching this, we've had to reinvent church 3 times, and none of this is taught in seminary. At least
facts.
Doing online
Absolute
church.
Facts. So right here, it shows the stream status, and it changes. It's been changing this entire time, and it has like suggestions and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Any techies out there, if you're watching this, you've made it this far, you get the Easter egg, you get the Golden Star Award for consistency. And then if you have any insight on how to better one stream, that'd be awesome.
It's good.
That's all I got, man.
Okay. Well, you need me to close this up? You want to close it out?
I started it. You close it.
Thanks everyone for joining. If you did watch this, hopefully it looked like there was one other person watching live besides me. And then second, the hope is that once it's live, it'll then be posted onto YouTube, which is a question mark. Because with all this tech stuff, we get one thing, like we put out one fire and then like 2 spring up. It's like, well, we figured that problem out, but then what about these other X number of things? So thanks for hanging with us in community, which is more important than the technology methods we use. And we will see you soon.
Peace out, fam. Love y'all. Bye.
So now you click end.